Welcome, welcome, friends. This is the Soul Talk podcast with Dawn Johnston, and I am so happy that you are here. All right. If you've lost someone, whether that's a parent or a spouse or a child or a friend, and you have been waiting to feel them, waiting for a sign, waiting for a moment that lets you know, most of all, that they're okay, and that they're still with you, and you either feel like that moment hasn't come yet or you're unsure of what maybe is a real sign. I want you to know I get it. I know that that's difficult. I know that the desire and the longing for that can be so hard to walk through. And I also want you to know that they are trying to reach you. And it's not something that I'm just saying to make you feel better. It's something that after, 40 plus years of being in this field and 25 doing this work professionally, the love does not end. It doesn't stop just because somebody leaves their body. And it also doesn't really even go quiet. It just doesn't. It doesn't abandon you. It exists. The energy exists and it looks for different ways that it can actually get back to you. So if you're not feeling them, if the signs aren't coming through, then there's something we need to look at. And today I'm going to dive in to helping you to understand exactly what that thing is. I'm going to call it out. I'm going to name it. I'm going to explain why it happens, and I'm going to give you some steps so that you can actually feel your way through it, so that you can start receiving those messages and receiving those signs from your person, whoever that is for you, because I know that they are sending you messages and there's something in the way. So stay with me, friends.
So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk, shine today.
All right, friends, welcome back to Soul Talk, where soul meets real life. I am Dawn Johnston, and I am so glad that you are here today because this is an episode that I think is really important. Over my career, I have been asked over and over and over and over again about connecting with our loved ones in spirit. And so we're going to dive into it today. So if you're new here, welcome. Grab a seat, grab your coffee, your tea, your water, your electrolytes, and get comfy. We are here every single Tuesday at noon Pacific time, and we talk about real life and real stuff and the spiritual stuff that actually applies to our everyday life. So if you've been here before, you know I love you, and thank you for coming back. And if this episode touches you today, please do me a favor and hit that like button or drop a comment or share with someone who really might need to hear this message, because I think it's so valuable to others and it's valuable to us. And if you're watching me live right now or on the replay, then I want to hear from you as well. So say hello in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And let me know if this is a topic that really affects you. Like, have you been looking for signs, or maybe you've been receiving signs, which is fantastic. If you've been receiving signs and you're just wanting to learn more about them, then welcome. And I'm glad you're here as well. So let's get into it, friends. All right. So first thing I want to talk about is the energy, the messaging, the word protection. So I want to talk about protecting energy versus maintaining energy, because I think protection it's certainly a loaded word. It's a heavy word, and we're going to start there. So the word protection, when you first think about it, I know it sounds like a good thing, right? We protect the people we love. We protect ourselves from harm. Protection feels safe. And I recognize that. And that is true. And I also want you to notice something else. And that is how the word itself, like, just say that word out loud or listen to it as I say it. Protection. And I want you to feel it in your body when I say it or when you say it. Close your eyes. Take it in. protection. For most people, what happens physically when they start focusing on protection is they tighten. Their shoulders get tight, their jaw clenches, their body is going to brace. And it makes sense because protection really, in the foundation of it, at its core, is a fear-based response. So protection would assume that there's something that is coming at you or towards you that you need to create some safety around, that you need to defend yourself from or protect yourself from. And it's really rooted in the idea that the world, physical and spiritual worlds, contain threats. So I'm not saying that bad energy doesn't exist, because it does. And I am not saying that we don't need discernment, because we do. But what I am saying is that when we focus specifically on protection, which is how most of us in the spirit realm were trained, um, when we focus on protection, then that's the lens that we look through. And if we're looking through that lens, we're starting from a place of fear. And we can't be fully open to love, to connection, to signs, to messages when fear is running the show. So, does that resonate with you? Can you feel that difference? Can you sense the difference between, let's say, protection and maintenance? Maintaining your energy versus protecting your energy. You feel a difference in those two. So that's the word I use instead, is maintaining your energy. Or, kind of staying in your own lane energetically, or being the observer, not the absorber. These are all ways that I kind of express differently than protection. And I want you to notice how that feels differently, right? Maintaining your energy doesn't feel like you're like shutting out the world. It means you're staying present, you're staying clear, you're staying grounded and centered in who you are, so that whatever it is that comes your way, you can experience it without losing yourself. And that is very different than kind of building a wall, right? A wall is rigid. It it keeps everything out, the good and the bad, and it takes constant energy to maintain that wall. And if something gets through anyway, then oftentimes you will feel attacked or violated because you were counting on that wall to protect you. But now let's think about a tree. Okay? A tree has roots. It has strong roots. It has deep roots. And that those roots keep the tree really grounded, so that even when the wind blows, the tree doesn't like put up and defend against the wind. It actually moves with it, and then it comes back to center. The tree doesn't hide from things. It doesn't wall up from the sun because maybe it got too much sun one day. It just stays rooted. It stays present. It stays grounded. It stays open. And that's what I want you to begin to understand, that that's what I mean by maintaining your own energy. And also, I want you to think about this from a visual perspective. Okay. So if you are able to watch me, I know a lot of you are listening, but if you can watch me for a moment, if I'm thinking about protecting my energy, then I've got to put up my wall, and this is protection. And I want you to think about how much energy I have to use to keep my wall up all the time, to always be protecting, to be hyper vigilant, to be very aware of everybody's everything and that protective energy. and it's coming from a state of fear. So, protection. And I know sometimes you think that you can do this, sometimes you feel like you can do this, but my guess is if you're really being honest with yourself, you can't keep everybody out. It is not your job to be in charge and control of everyone out there. You can't force them to do or not do what you want them to do, right? So that implies that you have power over everybody out here. Protection. Now, watch what happens with my hands. Maintaining. Maintaining energy says, I'm responsible for my energy. I'm responsible for what I put out. I'm responsible for the way I think. I'm responsible for the actions I take. And I'm going to maintain, hold my own vibration, my own frequency. That is my job. It's not my job to be in charge of everybody else. It's my job to be in charge of my energy. And so I'm hoping that visual helps you to recognize the difference between putting all of your energy out and using your energy to try to control the masses or just hold your energy in. And I really want you to think about this. Which do you have control over and which are you responsible for? Go ahead and throw in the comments for me what you recognize about that, the difference between that protection and that maintenance. And I know for some of you, especially if you've been people in my community for a long time, this is not news to you. But for a lot of people, it's brand new. And for a lot of people, it's eye-opening. So why does this matter in connection with our loved ones and wanting to receive signs, in connection with grief? Why is it important? Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. But the reason I'm actually doing this class is because I've been reading the comments on all of my podcasts, and so many people are in grief. So maybe this applies to you. You've lost someone, maybe recently or maybe years ago, but you still have that ache. And what you're asking for are signs. You're asking spirit, your loved ones, to show you that they're okay. And you either are not getting them or you're not getting them in the way that you want them, or you aren't even aware that the signs are there. You're missing the signs. And so this is what I want you to recognize and I want you to understand is that you when you're in deep grief, your your energy, your energetic frequency, the field that you are living in and operating in is very, very heavy. Grief itself is dense. It's one of the heaviest emotional experiences that we have as physical human beings, and it's not wrong. It's not something that you should feel bad about. It just is. Right? It just is. We walk through different journeys and we ebb and flow through different life experiences, and grief is one of the hardest. And they use the term now a lot. Grief is love with nowhere to go. Um, Nowhere to go physically, but absolutely energetically, it's going somewhere. And that is a sacred, sacred energy. But what I want you to think about is when you add protection from that fear-based state on top of grief, when you tighten your body, when you brace, when you close yourself off because you're hurting, because you're in pain, because you're scared, because you don't want to feel anymore, you close also the very door that the signs are trying to come through. So let's stop and just think about that for a minute. So you're asking spirit, asking spirit, asking spirit, show me a sign, allow me to experience you, let me feel you. You're asking and asking and asking. But then you're in grief, so you've got a denser energy, a lower frequency, and then you're shutting yourself off and you're trying to control the externals. Especially when we're in grief, we want to control the externals because we feel so out of control in so many different ways. And so in that grief, we're We're putting up our walls. We're putting up our protection. And in doing that, we're asking for spirit to show us signs. We're asking for them to communicate. And then we're shutting the door that they would come through in the first place. Can you see how that can happen? So, spirit is going to communicate through subtlety, um, a feather, a song on the radio, a dream, um, a feeling in your body, a flicker of light. And those things are quiet, they're soft, they're gentle, and they can't get your attention. They can't break through that wall. So the work is less about um, it's less about protecting yourself from the pain. The work to get the signs is to stay present enough, grounded enough, in your body enough that you notice those small, subtle, quiet moments where your loved ones are trying to reach you. And that's not easy, right? It's kind of like it's a journey, it's a fine line, it's a process. And then we talk about, like, I think about the heaviness of grief and how people process so much of the heaviness. And the heaviness, that comes through in dreams, it comes through in what people perceive as scary experiences with the spirit world. When I was reading through the comments on some of the past videos that I've done, and during some of the past podcasts, many people mentioned having scary dreams or what they would call unsettling experiences, feeling like something lower vibration or dark is around them. And I want to talk about that because I know how scary that can be for people, and I know how real it feels. And when we are in a heavy emotional state, and when we aren't grounded and when we're not clear, our subconscious is going to process the pain that we're feeling, the depression we're feeling, the anger we're feeling, the sadness we're feeling. Our subconscious is going to process that pain in whatever way it can, whatever language is available. And a lot of times that will be through um, heaviness or darkness, because fear shows up as fear. And a lot of people have a belief or a concern that there's like a dark entity, or it's attaching to you, or it's attacking you. And I understand that that is a real deep fear for many people. Some people feel the heaviness and that density, and it scares them. Some people have vision of darker energies. But in most cases, in my experience, it isn't that a dark entity is attacking you. What it is your own unprocessed emotions that are showing up in a way that you can see them. Oftentimes in a way that feels like a threat, because the emotion itself is a threat. Just feeling the emotion, the sadness, the heaviness, the density is threatening to you. So when you're having that, does anybody relate to this? Have you had this experience? Because in this case, the answer is not to wall up more, to protect more. The answer is actually more presence. It's more awareness. It's getting curious about what it is you're feeling. That's interesting that I'm feeling that. Where's that coming from? What's activating that? What can I do to release it? Right? What we have to do is we have to get curious about it, and then we've got to do that inner work. And that inner work, there's a lot of things you can do for that inner work. We'll talk about a few of them in a little bit, but journaling, meditation, going to a counselor, or a therapist, or a guide, a spiritual teacher, a mentor, someone like that, so that your emotional weight has somewhere else to go. It has ways to move out of your body, and it doesn't just have to live in the dream state. Because oftentimes the reason it's coming through in the dream state is it has nowhere else to go. There's no other place to process it, likely because you haven't given it a place to process it. So when you start to do that deeper emotional work, most of the time those heavy uh, dreams start to shift on their own, um, just because you faced them, just because you looked at it instead of just building a wall up and protecting yourself from it and not feeling it, not talking about it, not sharing it, but instead you looked at it and you felt it and you expressed it and you talked about it and you moved through it and you journaled about it. That starts to become the healing space. And so if you're watching right now and you are interested in connecting with a loved one in spirit, and you'd like to have more connection, maybe you've had some connection, but you'd like to have more connection, then just drop me a heart in the comments. Okay? Because here's as a medium and having done this professionally for over 25 years, it's one of the complaints that I get from people all the time is I want to talk to my mom, I want to see my sister, I want to talk to my husband, I want to talk to my child, or I want to feel them, or I want their signs, but I'm not getting them. They're not communicating with me. And most of the time it isn't that they're not communicating with you, it's that you're just not aware of the signs yet. Sometimes we need a little education. Sometimes we need more presence. Sometimes we need more understanding, more tools. Um, Sometimes we need more trust of uh, ourselves and our interpretation of the messages. So, all of those matter, all of those count. And I was thinking about this when I was getting ready for this podcast because I was trying to think of a time in my own life where I could feel that dense energy and how it was affecting me, where I kind of felt shut down and then what happened. And so if I can just take you back for a moment, in the year 2000, actually 1999, turning to year 2000, that New Year's Eve, uh, New Year's Eve, my grandmother, who I love dearly and was quite close to, even though I didn't live um, with her, I didn't live in the state for very long. I only lived in Utah for 10 years from the time I was 6 to 16, but I was very close to her. And so in 1999, I was 28 years old. And my grandmother was in a Alzheimer's care facility, and she had had Alzheimer's for about 4 years. She had spent some time living with each one of her daughters, and they had done their best to really take care of her in the best way that they could. But it got to a point where it wasn't safe for her to be in their home any longer because she was what in the Alzheimer's world, they call these people the wanderers, and they're the ones that just can't stop wandering around. Like they have to move and they have to go, and that's what they do. And so they will wander around the spaces and they'll wander outside and they'll wake up in the middle of the night and they'll wander. And so it's actually a big concern for many Alzheimer's patients. And so because they wanted the best care for her and she would just walk right outside of the front door, when we lived in Arizona in the summertime, you could literally die of dehydration if you did that. And then in the wintertime in Utah, where the rest of her daughters were, you could freeze, right? And so they wanted to get her into a safe environment. So they found a beautiful brand new kind of at that time was supposed to be a state of the art place that could take care of her. And she lived there for about 4 months. And on New Year's Eve, um, she wandered out of her care facility and at midnight or somewhere after midnight. And when they when the staff noticed that she was missing, they did a search and they found her body frozen to death about 3/4 of a mile down the road. And she had no shoes on, bare feet, and a thin silk nightgown, and it was freezing, like 0 degrees, below zero. And so my grandmother died in a very, um, very tragic death. And when I found out that she passed, of course, if any of you have been with someone who has passed in a really tragic way, you have all these questions and you have all this anger, and you have all this energy and frustration and sadness and all the things. And it was palpable, right? It was so heavy, so dense. And I kept talking to her because hello, I do this for a living. I kept talking to her and I couldn't get her to come through. Like I couldn't feel her and I couldn't sense her in the immediate couple of days. And then spirit said to me, your energy is too low. Like you've got to raise your frequency. You've got to raise your frequency to connect with her. She doesn't want to come back here. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, duh." Like, I knew that, but I couldn't remember that. You know what I mean? So in my initial grief and in that, first couple of days, my energy was so low, and I was so upset, and I was so angry that my grief clouded my ability to be able to connect with her, to be able to communicate with her, to be able to feel her presence. And I knew then that my work was to actually raise my vibration and raise that connection so that I could then tune in and experience her spirit, which is what I wanted so badly. And I've done this for a living and been in this exposed to this for so many years, right? At this point I was 28, so 15 years. And I hadn't taught it yet, though, at that point. I was just having my own experiences with the spirit world. And so, on the 3rd day, I was like, "All right, I know what I've gotta do. I've gotta raise my energy," and so that's what I did. I just worked on raising my energy. I worked on focusing on my love that I had for her. I worked on seeing what I could do to help support, my family members and bring some healing to them, and I got myself packed and ready to go so that I could be in Utah and all the things, right? And as I did that, my energy started lightening up. I started focusing on the life that I needed to live and what I could do to help and support. That started shifting some of that heaviness and that density. And then she was able to come to me. And she was able to come to me and had some amazing, beautiful conversations. And I want to share one of them with you that I think could bring you all um, some peace, or I hope that it does. And that is that one of the things that she, asked me and said to me, she said it and then asked, she said, "I've never had a voice in my entire life. I've never had a voice. I never Nobody ever listened to me. I was never, somebody that people paid attention to. I've never been able to speak up for myself." And God, it made me so sad. And she said, "But I did through this." And that she actually chose not on a human conscious level. But remember, Alzheimer's people, they have got a foot on the other side already. They're in and out of consciousness, a human consciousness. And this way, in the way that she left, she had a voice and she had attention and she got everybody's attention. And then she asked me to be her voice, to speak up for her, to stand up for her. And um it was a long conversation, but basically the gist of it was that she could have been an Alzheimer's patient like many, many, many that would have died in her bed surrounded by people that loved her years later, or she could create change and she could make a difference. And um and then asked me to be her voice. And I did. We did. My family did. And we were able to change laws in Utah. We were able to get the facility closed down. We were able to, two of my aunts and I went to um, Washington, D.C., and we spoke at Senate hearings on, on Alzheimer's and on the Safe Return program that they were working on, and we got to be her voice. I'm sharing that with you for two reasons. The first one is in my anger and my frustration and my fear and my sadness and my depth of grief, which I had a right to have, it blocked me from being able to connect with her because it was a lower frequency. And once I set the intention and I opened myself up, that shifted. And that's what I want you to hear. And I hope that you can feel that difference also. If you're watching live right now, or if you're watching the replay, I would love to hear how that hits you. Like, do you recognize how, and I'm not saying it was easy, you guys. I was in grief and I was in like misunderstanding and I was in lots of anger. Like, how could somebody let this happen? Right. But then once she told me the bigger picture, once I could scan out and see on a soul level, I was like, "Oh my god, that makes perfect sense. What a beautiful gift." And then I felt like I could be part of the change, right? Then I felt like I could make a difference through the experience that she walked. I felt like we as a family could make a difference by saying, "No, this is not okay." And we did. But I had to get into a frequency that was high enough that I could receive her signs and her messages and her communication. So I want you to sit with that story, guys, and we're going to take a quick commercial break because before we go any deeper, I just want to share with you the next webinar that we have coming up. It is a free live webinar. It's on Monday, July 7th. And I'm excited about it because it's one that has been a conversation I've been talking about over and over and over again with my students and my clients and all my membership communities lately. And that is the title of it is Coming Back to Yourself When You Don't Feel Like Yourself Anymore. And it's really about how you can recreate your energy and your identity when you have drifted away from yourself or when you don't even recognize who you are anymore. And I think, friends, so many of us are in that place. You know, you're showing up for everybody else, you're giving to people, you're holding space, you're doing all the things you do. And then somewhere along that, you feel like you're losing yourself or you want to recreate yourself and you don't know how. And it's kind of little by little. And then one day you just kind of wake up and you're like, wait, I got to do something different. And so that's what this class is about. So I'm not asking you necessarily to start over, but I am asking you like, hey, what if we came together and we work on finding ourselves? The you that is who you really want to be, not just what you've created based on your past life experience. And if you're in a great place, then that's fantastic. But I'm talking to those of you that feel like you're in an identity shift and helping you understand that disconnection, why it's happening, what maybe is missing for you, and how you can start rebuilding that energy and your identity from the inside out in a way that actually will keep you um, grounded, that will keep you present to who you are. Okay, so the webinar is Thursday, July 7th from 5 to about 6:30 Pacific time. It's free, it'll be on Zoom, and if you can't make it, you can register and then you can join the replay. All right. So I'm going to just share with you also that at the end of each one, we always pick a person to win a little prize, a little gift at the end. So if that's something that's interesting to you, let me throw the link up here so that you can see it. Go ahead and jot it down or go on right now and get registered. It's schooloflight.biz/webinar. Okay, schooloflight.biz/webinar. I would love for you to come and join us next month. Make that identity shift. All right, guys. So now let's keep going. You ready? Let's keep going a little bit longer. Hang on one sec. I want to just pop that in the comments. So how do we actually receive the signs? So the way that you receive signs really is based on it's based on the way that um, is your strongest natural intuitive abilities. That's basically how we receive the signs, and everybody is different. And so we're going to dive into the ways that that shows up to hopefully be able to help you to understand and recognize. Oops, hang on, guys. I'm trying to get this in here for you. There we go. There's a webinar link. Because everybody could experience the same sign, and some are going to see it as a sign and some aren't. So it really is based on your natural intuitive style. And if you aren't paying attention, then you're going to miss it. So, of course, some of you are going to be clairsentient. Those are the feelers, right? You walk into a room and something feels off and you just know it. You pick up the phone and you already know who's on the other end without looking at your phone to know who's calling. And if that's something that you identify with, then you're going to be receiving signs more through sensations. A lot of times, sensations in the body. So you might feel like it's like somebody's rubbing your face, or you might feel goosebumps when you don't have any reason to. It's not cold. You might get this feeling that just like a wave that comes over you of peace, even though you're pissed off or you're upset or you're unhappy. And for some of you that are claircognizant, then that's going to be those of you that are knowers. You just know something, you don't know why. And it kind of pops into your head. It's like fully known without knowing where it came from. And if that's you, then the way that the messages are going to come through is like sudden thoughts that just pop in, a knowing that you probably can't even explain. Some of you are going to be clairvoyant. And if you're clairvoyant, then you're a seer. And so you're going to get the images and the symbols and the flashes. You're going to see the hummingbird or the red cardinal or things like that. And maybe you'll see like I see daisies with my grandma. And then there's going to be somebody that are clairaudient, and that's where you hear. So a song comes on the radio that reminds you of your loved one. You hear a voice inside of your head that just is saying hello. You hear your name being called outside of your head. And the point of that is you don't need to receive the signs in the same way that everybody else does. We're all different. You just need to start recognizing the way that you get them and start paying attention to those. But if you're braced, if you've got that protection up, if you're trying to push everything out or control everything, then you're not going to catch the signs. So one of the things that I love to suggest, and I think it can be a really powerful tool, it's one that I actually used when I was opening up to my own intuition when I was young. And that is having some kind of a symbol journal. One of the most important things you can do is start paying attention to your personal symbols. And so it's creating a journal of the different symbols that are showing up for you. So I'm not talking about going online and looking up what does the butterfly mean spiritually. I mean asking yourself, what does this feel like to me? Who does it feel like it's from to me? It's always great to go to a medium. I mean, certainly I've worked as a medium for 25 years, and I feel very blessed to have done the work that I've been able to do to help people. But and and they can help validate some of the things that you're already experiencing. But what we want to do is we want you to start opening up to your own experiences. So, a lot of people connect with a variety of different signs, like a red cardinal, and that could be your dad or your grandmother, or some people it's a feather, or some people it's a particular smell. My grandmother, the same grandmother that passed, it was Coors beer, or maybe it's a dragonfly, or maybe it's a white feather, or maybe it's a coin. And the thing is your loved ones know how to be able to communicate with you, and they're going to use that because they want you to recognize them. But if you're not present, if you're distracted, if you're in so much grief, and meaning that your energy's heavy, not a judgment, then what they're trying to do is get your attention. They want to stop you in your tracks, basically, because they know you. So instead of asking what does it mean and Googling it, I want you to ask, who does this feel like? That's a better question. Because when you ask that, and then you get a guidance, a feeling, that will be a validation that that is the connection, that's the contact. And it doesn't have to be like this great big explosive thing, friends. It's usually not. It's usually subtle, it's usually soft, and it just you have to be present enough to catch the signs. Okay, when your energy is clear, when it's present, when it's grounded, when you're maintaining your own energy and your own frequency, and you're not like walled off and blocked off from a place of fear, then you're going to create that safe place, and that safe place internally is where spirit can send messages that 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 actually that you actually get, that that will land for you in a way that you understand. So if you think about it, like for example, if you are really connected to your grandmother and you feel like she shows up through hummingbirds, let's say, um, then you could build a whole like hummingbird sanctuary. And if you're not paying attention, you're not going to notice them. You're not going to catch the signs anyway. So you could set it all up to create the exact right conditions and put up exactly what you need, and you won't get the sign that way, because what they're wanting to do is teach us how to be present. So you open the door, you ask, you invite, and then you stay open to the signs as they show up. You don't get to tell them how to show up or what sign to show you. That is your job to discern the messages that they're bringing you. So I have clients that'll say, okay, well, I told my mom to show up through this and I haven't seen any. Well, first off, maybe don't tell your mom. Maybe let her come to you. Let her show you the way she wants to communicate. Well, we had an agreement before she left. I know, and that changes. Lots of agreements change when people leave. So it doesn't mean they're turning their back on you. It just means that they are shifting into a frequency that fits for them with where they are. They can manipulate energy, so they can have the hummingbird fly in front of you. They can have you notice the thing on the side of the road or on the side of the van, or like they can draw your attention to those things if you're present and listening. Okay, if you're present and listening. So just very quickly, and then we'll dive into our heart to heart with Sunny. So if you have a question, then go ahead and throw it in the chat with a couple of question marks, because we're going to get to our heart to heart segment in just a few minutes. But I want to share with you a couple of tools. First tool I want to share with you is anytime that you start thinking about protection, I want you to start shifting that energy. I want you to start shifting the words. I want you to start shifting the frequency into a higher energy. I'm going to maintain my energy today. I'm going to stay in my own lane. I'm going to focus on my energy. I'm not going to try to control. I'm not going to try to direct everybody else. And I want you to start noticing how your body will respond to that. you will notice that there's less tightness, less bracing. And that can literally start to change the energy, like all around you in all aspects of your life, quite honestly. It changed mine in phenomenal ways. The second one is making sure you are grounded, making sure you're present in your body, visualizing like you have roots, like roots of the tree growing down into the earth, thick, strong roots, not to protect you, but to anchor you in, right? And then breathing that energy up so you are grounded and present in this physical body. And in doing that, you could have an intention like I am open, I am present, and I am grounded. Um, or I am open and I am clear and I am present and I'm available to notice what is here for me. Could be, I like to say a statement of, allow me to experience you in a way that I know it's you. Allow me to experience you in a way that I know it's you. And then third one is to be the observer. It's practicing observing. Be the observer, not the absorber. So when you go to a place, you're going to be around people, just kind of take a breath. I like to call in Archangel Michael and say, okay, allow me to be mindful of my energy. Help me to observe energy, not absorb energy. And then remind yourself, I can be present without taking this on. This is not mine to carry. Okay? That doesn't mean you're disconnecting from the world. It actually means you're choosing to take responsibility for your own energy instead of taking responsibility for everybody else's. And there is a big, big difference in that. And the last thing is always remember to invite your spirit team in. You have a spirit team, friends. You have angels, you have guides, you have loved ones in spirit. You have ascended masters that can work with you. And they're here for support and clarity and connection and communication. They're not from here from a place of fear. They're here from a place of love. When you call in your angels and guides, um, it, and you call them in each day, not from a place of crisis, not from a place of, oh my God, this is scary, but just from a place of practice. It's a daily practice. You start to actually build your relationship with them. Hey, friends. Hey, fam. Hey, spirit team. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm open. Allow me to experience you in ways that I know it's you. Help me to stay grounded and maintain my energy so that I can notice the signs that you're sharing with me. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, friends. And then I think one of the other things that I just want to remind you of is if you're in a place where you're struggling, where you have been challenged, where you're wanting to connect with your loved ones in spirit, but you're not really feeling them, what I want to remind you of is they're there. They are with you. So if you're not feeling them, it's simply because we've got to practice. We've got to practice the presence. We've got to practice our awareness. We need to be more grounded and centered. And we also need to be in a little higher frequency. Those are all different tools that you can use. Okay. Okay. So now let's dive into our heart to heart segment. All right, friends, this is one of my favorite parts of the show because it's where things really get real. It's where we bring in real conversation together. I love all of you and I love the questions that you ask. And I really appreciate that you trust me to bring whatever's actually going on in your life to this space. So we're going to go to our heart to heart with Sunny next up. So please throw your questions in. What are your questions? I've gotten some already that I'm going to answer in advance, and then I'm coming to you. So let's dive in.
So pull up a chair, let your spirit speak. This is where real life and the sacred meet. Heart to heart with Sunny, where your voice is heard.
All right, friends, it's heart to heart with Sunny time. So go ahead and ask your questions, and let me go ahead and answer the questions that I've gotten beforehand as well. Okay. Okay. I run a small business and I'm terrified to put myself out there. What if people judge me? And what if I fail in front of people? That's a good question. Um, what I would tell you is that just by asking that question, it tells me a few things. The first thing it tells me is that fear is running the show. Okay. Not necessarily truth, but fear. And it's something I've seen a lot of. For those of you that don't know, I have a lot of different aspects of my business, and one of them that I've been very active in is mentoring people who are starting, building, or growing their heart-based or spirit-based businesses. So that could be, intuitive work, it could be coaching, it could be energy work, but also regular, typical businesses. And a lot of people have that fear. They're afraid of, what are people going to think? And what if they judge me? And here's the reality: they will judge you. People do judge. I hate to say that, but it is true. They do judge. And that's part of being visible is recognizing that there will be people that judge you. And it has nothing to do with you. When people are judging you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. It has nothing to do with your work. It has everything to do with them. So what I think, when I first stepped into this work, even when I first just started studying this when I was a teenager, I was very, very judged to the nth degree, because it was very weird in the 80s, especially if you were raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, was not accepted. And what I had to really recognize is that I was I was having these experiences for a reason. I didn't know what the reason was. I didn't really even believe the reason. I didn't really like it sometimes. But I knew that it was real, and I knew that I was meant to um to explore it, because I felt this energy of curiosity inside of me that felt so, so deep. And so, you know, connecting to why you're doing what you're doing, figuring out your why, I think that can make all the difference. They say a lot of times, those of us that are in business say, hey, if you're not pissing off somebody, if somebody doesn't like you, you're not doing it right. Like that, especially with social media and all the external ways that people can communicate now, it's a reality. So you have a right to be scared and do it anyway. Okay, do it anyway. All right, let's see. I have a couple other questions, but let's go to those of you that are on the chat here first. Okay, Melissa, are there any messages for me right now as I'm struggling in grief, losing my spiritual soulmate, Nick? Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Melissa. Um, I think that the thing that I'm hearing is that Nick is actually going to be a support for you, a helper for you from a new place now. And I understand that doesn't always feel better. But what I will tell you is, when you have, kind of like when my grandma passed, when you have a team member on your side in the spirit world, you have like direct connection there, and it can really help move you in the direction for your highest good. After my grandmother died is when I actually started doing this work. I didn't do it beforehand because I did this push and pull, and I was uncomfortable. I was worried about what people thought. I didn't want to be judged, all the things. And after she died, she's like, Sonny, quit pretending that you're anybody different than you are and start doing what you're supposed to do. Like it was a no bullshit, right? And just no bullshit. And so that physical presence can be really difficult, because we're so used to the physical presence. But the reality of it is, physical presence is not what you loved. It's the soul, it's the spirit, and that spirit still exists. So tapping into that, I hope Melissa will help you. I'm sending you lots of love, honey. How do I deal with a close relative who just committed suicide? Oh, Beth, I am so sorry to hear that. Suicide is difficult. It is so, so difficult. Um, Unfortunately, I've had a lot of suicide around me. I've had 3 friends that have taken their lives. I've had uh, many other people in my circle. And then I've had lots of clients whose family members or friends have taken their lives. And it is one of the most painful experiences that I think a human being walks is walking through the journey of suicide. And I guess what I would tell you is that it is um, important to recognize that, and this is going to sound strong, and I know some of you aren't going to like the answer, but it is the answer Spirit has given me every single time for 42 years. Everybody dies on time. Nobody dies early and nobody dies late. Everybody dies on time, regardless of the way they died, regardless of the way that their exit is. Um, if they are no longer in a physical body, it's because it was their time, meaning that we can question the way that they left, but their soul was complete with this physical journey. And I understand that that is not an answer that most people want to accept, but it is not an answer that has ever changed in 42 years with thousands and thousands and thousands of readings. And so part of that is recognizing that when somebody dies by suicide, there's just so many questions. And that's one of the things that is so difficult. If somebody dies through an illness, then we know that they had this illness. And so that answers some of the questions. The questions you can lose so much of your life force energy over the questions. And to me, there's a peace in knowing that regardless of the way somebody goes, and I mean suicide, I mean an illness, a car accident, a murder, any and all of the ways that they serve their purpose, uh, because everything happens in divine time, not our time, not human time, divine time. And what I will also tell you is that those that transition through suicide, what I've seen and experienced is they actually are held in the most beautiful love and light, more so than any other souls that I've experienced, if I was going to have a commonality. And I think that's because of the trauma that they were going through in their human lives to feel the need to escape it to the level that was so deep is that, they receive, like, these light beings. I always see these light beings just surrounding their soul, and they're receiving that love and that light to heal the part of them that felt like they, um, didn't belong, couldn't do it, were overwhelmed, whatever it happens to be. I'm sending you so much love because it's one of the most difficult journeys you can walk, and I hope that helped, honey. Okay, let's see. Let me do one more question. Um, my parents both died, and now my cat also died, and now my only sister from Europe is not answering any calls or emails. Is she okay? Is it her husband controlling her? If my parents can answer or if you have any insight, I would greatly appreciate it. Sylvie, what it feels like to me is I do feel like she's being affected by external sources. But I also believe that she, because of those external sources, and they've been there for a long time, that she also is a part of it. So she's affected by the external sources and also is making her own decisions based on the influence of kind of the seeds that have been planted. Um, and I feel like there's a lot of stories being told. That's how I would say it. And so I hope that helps, my friend. Um, but it feels important for you to know that. Let's see. Thank you. Yes, it's yes, it is. Absolutely, Melissa. Melissa, thank you. Melissa says, thank you so much. Yes, that resonated with me 100%. Beautiful. I'm glad it did, my friend. I lost my daddy 5 months ago, and I want to feel him, but I feel empty. And so Anna, or Anne, that's part of the challenge is that when we're in that deep grief and that emptiness, then it's so hard to actually feel their lightness because we're so dark in the lower frequencies. I want to encourage you to find some things that bring you peace and love and joy because they are around. It's us allowing ourselves to experience it. Sometimes what grief does is it punishes us because we feel so much pain that feels safer than actually feeling happiness or feeling joy. And I know that's a hard answer, but I hope you recognize what I'm saying. Yes, the human heart searches for answers with suicide experiences. Letting go and knowing they are no longer suffering was helpful to myself when my best friend committed suicide. I agree, Helen. I think it can bring a little bit of peace. And, it's the questioning that is so painful because you are not going to get an answer. There's never an answer that feels okay. There's never an answer that feels okay. You guys, I've walked through so many suicides and I've held hands of probably hundreds of people that have walked through suicide. And it doesn't matter what the answer is, nobody likes the end result. And so what I would suggest is don't put yourself through that cycle of staying in the questioning and the answers because it doesn't move you in a direction that's healthy. Go right to them, start connecting with them, asking them to see the signs because they're in a free place. It's us that's in the pain. And you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be hurt, you can be all the things, and also um, trust their soul, trust their spirit. And I know that's difficult. Sylvie says, makes complete sense. Thanks. Um, awesome. Hi, Dara, I think it is. Thank you for helping me recognize what's going on with me. You're welcome, Rhonda. I'm glad it was helpful, my friend. All right, guys. I know we're coming to the end of today's show. I want to take a moment to say thank you. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you showing up for yourself. I appreciate you showing up here and thanking you for the questions that you're asking because I do think that brings value to everyone. If you heard something today on the show that brought value to you, will you just give me a thumbs up or a heart or some kind of emoji if you got value out of this show? That's always helpful to us, and it's helpful to for YouTube as well, and Facebook to know that there's interaction. And I think what we talked about today really matters. The language we use and the words that we choose and the way that we move through the world is important. If you've been trained on protection, it's not wrong. It comes from love, but it's just a lower frequency. It can kind of keep us closed down and shut down and braced uh, against a life that really actually wants to support us and wants us to live. So maintaining your energy, staying grounded, being present, that's the work, friends. And it's gentle work. So you're not alone and your spirit team is with you. We're with you. The signs are here. Um, the connection's real and you have to stay open enough to receive it. You really have to stay open enough to receive it. So friends, if you got value out of this video, please like it and share it. If you're on YouTube, please make sure that you are subscribed. What we have discovered is that there have been a lot of people that were unsubscribed from from YouTube. And part of that is because we actually had to make a change with our YouTube settings because we were set up 18 years ago with an incorrect foundation. And so it is quite possible that if you were on our YouTube subscribers for the podcast, that you may have been unsubscribed. So please check that. And if you aren't even on YouTube or you weren't subscribed, but you want to go get subscribed for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. That would help us out, friends. And spread the word. So share this message. If you're on Facebook, please share the link, share the information on your page, in your stories, whatever works for you. We greatly appreciate it. I love you all, guys. I'm going to share the video that goes along with our Soul Talk theme song. So I hope you guys enjoy it. For those of you that haven't seen it, let me know what you think. And if you have seen it, I hope you love it. I love this song. It was created for this podcast, and the video is a beautiful way to end the show today. So as I throw this on, just as a reminder, you guys, when we allow our divinity to guide our humanity, love becomes the thing we live. I wish you so much love in your life.
25 years on this road, rewriting every story I'm told. Love from the inside out, that's what it's all about. So self-service, hear the call. Rising to the truth of it all. This is Soul Talk. Feel the light where your soul ignites. No more hiding who you are. Time to shine. You're born a star. Inspire. Light the way. Impact your inner fire. That's a fact. This is Soul Talk. Time to rise. Step into your power. No disguise. Walk through shadows, found my voice. Now I'm here to make a choice. Real and raw, that's how we heal. Heart-based living, this is real. Soul self-service, feel the flame. Step into your power, stake your claim. This is Soul Talk. Feel the light where your soul ignites. No more hiding who you are. Time to shine. You're born to star. Inspire. Light the way. Impact your inner fire. That's a fact. This is Soul Talk. Time to rise. Step into your power. No disguise. Light leaders rise up strong. This is where you belong. From the inside, watch it grow. Let your brilliance overflow. World needs your light right now. Plant your roots and claim your ground. This is Soul Talk. We rise as one. Soul alignment's just begun. No more playing small or safe. Step into your sacred space. Inspire, light the way, impact. Live in truth, that's where it's at. This is Soul Talk, here we stand. Light leaders hand in hand. Light leaders hand in hand. So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk. Shine today.
All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed the song. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.